Good morning. Welcome to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, here we are. And, of course, you can listen to this show on iTunes and Spotify and watch the show on YouTube, Facebook.com, and Pot Up with Shane, all one word.com. You can call or text us on the Titan MRI hotline, 352-353-7465. Ask us questions and have comments on Facebook Live. And, of course, we're looking for anybody or more businesses that can support this show, because without that support, we can't do it.
Yeah, and we have 3 new sponsors we want to give a shout out to.
That's a good thing.
Adams Ribs Company,
yeah.
Wrap Spot, and Cloud9 Spa.
That's awesome. Share the show with your friends. Click the like button and then share button, and so all your friends can enjoy the show as well. We're here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 o'clock, my man. And, you know, here we are, Tuesday after the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes spends his time and morning and day yesterday in Walt Disney World. And did you know, QB, that when he was a little 13-year-old boy, he said on some sort of recording of some sort, because they pulled it up, that he wanted to be going to Disney World. He wanted to go to Disney World.
You don't think his dad took him to Disney World?
And, well,
his dad played the majors for 11 years.
But he wanted to go to Disney. Well, Dad's busy too now. But Dad he wanted to go as the Super Bowl MVP is what my point is. And
didn't say that.
Well, I was going to get it. I was going to get to it there. And, of course, you know, listen, he had, I think when he was being recruited, maybe 3 Power 5 offers. Mm-hmm. Ends up at Texas Tech. A lot of the rest of his offers were Group of 5 offers because, you know, footwork is crazy, throws on the run off his wrong foot, blah, 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 all this evaluation nonsense that you guys love. And yet, there he is, the MVP of the Super Bowl in just his second year of playing, his third year in the league. And I think it's just a great story. And certainly he probably will get as much money as he wants, because there is talk, QB, that the NFL may not include in the next collective bargaining agreement, in the next CBA, they may not include quarterbacks in the salary cap.
Oh, dear Lord.
So, Clark Hunt, and anybody who wants to can just back up the Brinks truck for Pat Mahomes, because I doubt very seriously there's any chance he'll ever leave Kansas City.
They would be crazy, because, in my opinion, he's the best that's ever played the game
and
will be.
They'll sign him. They'll sign him.
And what's better about him, I'll read you a quick little story that I pulled up here, JC. It says, a few weeks back, Pat Mahomes and his girlfriend were having dinner at a pizza place near their home in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone there recognized them, but nobody interrupted them at all, allowing them to enjoy their peaceful meal. They paid their bill and started to head out the door, and still nobody is jumping up to ask for a selfie or an autograph or anything. Pat stops at the door, turns back, and everyone looks up. He says to the entire restaurant, "Thanks for letting us enjoy our dinner. This is why I love Kansas City. You guys are awesome." After he and Brittany left, it was revealed that they had paid for every bill at every table.
Yeah, he bought everybody dinner, and that's the kind of dude he is, apparently, and it's great to see, and I love stories like that, Shane, and I think he really likes Kansas City, though. I think he loves that Midwest culture, that the type of people that are in that area, because it's very different than some of the others. And I think being on the big stage right now and highlighting having the chance to thank the supporters that have been at that stadium, and of course listening to all the talk shows, read all the newspapers, support the Chiefs. They have a great fan base, and it's awesome to see a player recognize that fan base as something special and something that maybe he might not want to leave and stay and be a part of for his entire career, because so many Hall of Famers, Derek Jeter, a couple others, stayed at one franchise their entire career. Joe Montana did not, but Tom Brady could. He may not, but he could. And so I think it's special if you can do something like that. And I think Pat Mahomes, I don't know this, and when I called him the other day, I went to voicemail, but you know, he didn't tell me he wants to stay in Kansas City for the rest of his career, but I think it's a pretty safe bet that he would.
Well, I think he has a great relationship with Andy Reid.
They're going to lock him up long term.
Another little stat about Pat Mahomes, because I'm not a huge fan of a lot of players, but I love this kid. Okay, this season alone, Pat Mahomes was 5-0 when trailing by double digits.
Yeah.
In your quarterback's Hall of Fame career, Kurt Warner,
Yeah.
he was 2-44 when his team trailed by double digits.
Yeah,
I mean,
heard
you're
that
seeing
too.
a special,
Yeah,
special
no
player.
question about it. The guy's a special talent. Andy Reid, credit to him and the staff at Kansas City for recognizing what they had when they picked him 10th, which means 9 teams passed him in the 2017 draft. But when they picked him 10th, and they let him watch Alex Smith for a year and learn the system under Andy Reid. And I don't know, he may have played some in that season. I'm not really sure if he did or not in his rookie year. But I'll tell you what, they had no problems letting Alex Smith hit free agency and immediately insert this kid as their starting quarterback. And the year he had last year was awesome. The year he had this past season here that we just finished was much better. So he spends the day at Disney World. The parade in Kansas City is on, and I am wearing once again an invisible hat because I
not
can't
smart
remember
enough.
at 6:30 in the morning when I wake up and look at my hat lineup because, as you know, I've got a great hat game. I
Well, how
cannot
about-
remember.
We'll do this. Take your green and your yellow hats and put them in the other room.
What a great idea.
Preparation, JC.
Well, the
preparation.
Stars won last night. Dallas Stars put it on the New York Rangers 5-3 in hockey. And, of course, I have the NHL Center Ice package on Cox
may
Cable.
be the
And I
only
watched
person
some of
in
that.
Gainesville.
No, I don't think so. You might be surprised. But I'll tell you what did also happen as the Stars were beating up on the Rangers. In the ACC, the North Carolina Tar Heels lost again to the Florida State Seminoles, who are probably only one of 3 teams right now, if the field was set today, would get into the tournament out of the ACC. 3 teams.
I know.
3.
I told you, it's
Virginia,
not very good.
your defending national champion Wahoos, the Cavaliers, are on the bubble. But right now it's Louisville, Duke, and Florida
Semis.
State. So that's it. Carolina's 3-8 in the league. They're 10-12. Now, granted, their best player was hurt, the freshman. He was their stud. But my God, it's
He
North
came
Carolina.
back last night. He
Oh, he
played
did
last
play?
night.
Well,
Yeah.
they got all these players at North Carolina QB, and you're telling me they're going to go 10-12? I mean, Roy must be having a fit.
Yeah, fire him. Fire the coach.
I don't think you fire him.
Well, no, you don't. I'm being, sarcastic. Also, at 8:30, we're going to have Zach Alberverdi on, talk Gator recruiting. Tomorrow's National Signing Day. Most of the teams have wrapped
Yeah.
up their players, but there'll be a few surprises tomorrow, I think. Also, some college football news. KJ Costello, who played at Stanford, is going to be Mike Leach's quarterback at Mississippi State.
Yep.
This dude can throw it now.
Yeah,
He can really throw it.
Now, this is a guy who was hurt for most of last year, right?
He was hurt a lot
I think
in
he
his
played
career.
5 games, but he's a large individual. He's got a great arm. And here's the stat about KJ Costello. Mel Kiper had him as the 7th eligible quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
And he played 5 games.
Well, he's big.
So think about it.
He's got height.
very-
He's got a great arm.
well, and he does. And so he's looking at Kansas. So what does that mean? That means that this guy here, me, who is a member of the Bulldog Club. This is for all our listeners in Mississippi. And the only reason I'm a member of the Bulldog Club is because, the kid went to Mississippi State. Now, my other son, God bless him, is a Gator. So I'll move into that in a minute. But Mississippi State's got this Gridiron Club, which is the best way to watch football game, even though you don't agree. But
I think it's terrible.
I love it, and it's on the field in the north end zone. Anyway,
And you short guys can't see anything.
this is the there's plenty of TVs in there too, and it's climate controlled with
you
food.
might as well stay at home in the kitchen.
But anyway, as he's trying to, all right, this is my renewal form. Guess what? This thing was going in the garbage or being sold to one of our friends in Mississippi if the Dogs had kept Joe Moorhead. But guess what's going to happen now?
You're going to renew it.
A JC is going to be I'm going to some of those games. I've got to watch them play. I've got to watch Mike Leach play. So what is it? I'll send this in. I've got until, let's see, QB. I've got until
March,
May
probably.
29th.
Oh.
So we're going to renew the Bulldog Club. That means I get to see my friend Jalen in the locker area and everybody for 2020. Of course, I'll go to Florida games with the other child and watch both. And there is a 1,000% chance, guaranteed, that if Scott Strickland gets something like the Gridiron Club over there at the Swamp in the south end zone like he should and like he will, because he said he might likely do that at a quarterback club meeting that I went to, then I will be going to the.
There's no room.
Oh no, there is. It's called construction. We have listeners who are in the construction business. You have to retrofit or refit the stadium.
And
that place needs it. Yeah, you will. You watch. Just watch.
Watch.
You watch.
I
It's going to happen.
guarantee you
I'm
they're
going to
not
go to that club that Florida's going to put on the field in the south end zone. It's going to happen.
Ain't gonna happen.
It's going to happen.
It ain't gonna happen.
It's going to happen, and it's happening right now in Mississippi State. And Mike Leach is bringing life to that program.
You can't see down there.
Oh, you can see anything.
No, you can't.
You haven't been. How many times have you been?
How many times have I been on a
to
football
Mississippi
field?
State's
Doesn't
Gridiron
matter.
Club?
I've stood in plenty of end zones and watched games.
Zero.
You can't see.
Zero.
And you're 5'7", and there's no way you can
5'8"
see.
and a half.
Well, anyway.
205. 5'8" and a half.
Anyway,
205.
They're going to have a bar
What do
stool
you
for
mean
you to
anyway?
stand on.
They've got plenty. They've got a bar there. They've got it's fine, folks. Believe me, it's the best value. Listen, there's a waiting list for these. Okay, a waiting list. There will be at Florida too.
That's not going to happen here. If you want to text the program at the Titan MRI text line, 352-353-7465. We have a text here from Daryl. It says, I watched the Florida State-North Carolina game last night. It's going to be a long year for the Tar Heels. I thought with Cole Anthony coming back, they would start winning. But with that being said, do you think FSU has enough talent to make a run in the NCAA tournament? I know it's all about matchups. Thank you. Thanks for the text, Daryl. I do. FSU is long, very athletic. You know, they were ranked 5th in the country last week till they lost to Virginia. I think they can definitely make a long.
Lamar is a great question here. How many times have you been to a game, Shane? Smiley face, laughy face.
About as many as you have, Lamar.
Rick says, watch out what you say about short guys, even though I'm 5'8" and a half. I don't know if that's really short. I'm a monster in my Italian family. Gene says, JC's invisible hat is amazing. Makes him look like I have superpowers. It's true. I can make this star float. Thank you, Gene. Chris says, Franz said on Buddy's show he was told Kerwin was not coming after you were on last night. Talk to me, Shane. What's going on? What is that about?
My sources, which are pretty
Facebook
close
Live.
to Kerwin, that he is coming.
As Florida analyst.
Yes, unless he's been hired by another school, and
Chris,
I would have known that.
Go with his sources on Kerwin. I mean, we're big Kerwin fans, always have been.
Yes, indeed.
I tend to believe certainly what my partner here has to say. You know, this thing about KJ Costello, I want to go back to that from Mississippi State. You know, this is kind of what the transfer portal is meant for, and it is good that he can do something like this. Mississippi State is going to have a couple of quarterbacks now that can compete under this Mike Leach system, which is kind of a. I mean,
Who else they got?
Well, they've got a couple of kids that played last year, but
They
you
ain't
could,
got a chance to play.
But you could say that this offense isn't the hardest to learn. It's kind of like sprinkler reads. You got this over here. But it might be harder for the wide receiver. Sprinkler reads. You like that? But it might be hard. Well, I just brought it up. You know, Mike Leach is on. It's that go. And the thing about it is that it could be tougher for Mississippi State's wide receivers to learn that offense than it would be for maybe the quarterback. And their receiving core is miserable. I mean, they've got to get some junior college transfers, which I think they are, and they recruited a couple. But the thing about these, one high and two high safety, you got to read if they have a one high or two high safety, you got to know if it's a zone or a man-to-man coverage. You got to learn all these things as a wide receiver. Sometimes it's hard for these kids at Mississippi State because they don't have good wide receivers.
His offense is simple.
Well, that is. But I mean,
simple.
my point is that I'm trying to make here is that it might be harder for a wide receiver, especially for those guys at Mississippi State. Maybe not, maybe so.
Bubba's going to coach him up. Don't worry.
Is he on the staff?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. You didn't say that.
Well, I mean, it's obvious. He's been coaching with Leach for the last several years.
Well, how many of our listeners know that, QB?
I believe many of our listeners know that Bubba Spurrier, Coach Spurrier,
Lamar loves the sprinkler reads. Yeah. That's what they are, Lamar.
I'm sure Lamar's never heard that either. The Steve Spurrier Jr. is the wide
one
receiver coach at Mississippi State under Mike Leach. So the receivers will be fine.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying this is an easier offense.
I think we need to have an hour segment on sprinkler reads.
Sprinkler reads. I mean, I think that's a great description of how he runs his offense. It's 6 plays, 7 plays, whatever it is.
It's not many.
Yeah, and so I mean, sprinkler reads, bro. Go, 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 go. What? Why? What? And then, I mean, these wide receivers have to be able to tell if that's a one high or two high safety.
Sometimes
defense.
they do, sometimes they don't, JC.
I know it,
Does
but
it-
this is the thing that they're going to have to learn at State.
No, my point is some plays, it doesn't matter what the coverage is, you run the route called. So trust me, they will be fine. It's a very, very simple offense to learn. Again, if you want to text the program, 353-7465.
Sprinkler reads.
At 8:30, we'll have Zach Alberverdi talking college football recruiting. Tomorrow is National Signing Day. We got some good college basketball tonight. Gators play here against the Georgia Bulldogs tonight. In the SEC, you got Tennessee's at Alabama. Auburn at Arkansas should be a heck of a game.
Yes.
You got – this is the one game that I'm anxious to watch.
Go ahead.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs
Oh.
play at Kentucky in Rupp Arena, and the Missouri's at A&M. Nobody will be watching that game.
Auburn and Arkansas and the Mississippi State game at Kentucky. It's February, it's early, but these teams need to get these wins.
Well, see, I think Mississippi State is good enough to be a tournament team, but they struggled early in the year, losing some
Bill
games they
Nardi,
shouldn't
that-
have.
they even-
so
yeah.
now, it'll be a huge resume builder if they can win in
They've
Rupp.
only got one road win, QB. So this would be huge. This would be huge for them to pull it off up in Kentucky. Kentucky's a beatable team. I mean, they are. They're not Anthony Davis is not there. And I think Mississippi State has a chance if they can stay out of foul trouble, maybe get in there. Florida, on the other hand, tomorrow night has to win this game against Georgia. I don't think there's any doubt. They have to win a QB. You know damn well that if they don't win this game at Georgia, then on Thursday and Friday, what are we going to talk about? What are they going to be talking to us about? Oh, well, when is Mike Wright going to get fired? This kind of crap. And that's why they have to win. So we don't have to have those conversations.
Well, they have the roster is better than Georgia. You're playing at home. You have to win. They're going to have the best player on the court. Georgia will, but we have the best roster. And Lamar says he's going to use that in his next interview. Your new
Sprinkler
wide
reads.
receiver terminology.
I think it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant with the way it describes his offense for the.
How many times have you said
the
in a
football
meeting with
the
Mike
casual football? The casual.
do you know how he teaches his guys to
because
read?
we have a mutual friend in Jackson, Mississippi, who tells me things just like he tells you things. Maybe
told
not
you about sprinkler reads?
Maybe not. No, I brought that. That's me.
Oh.
I'm talking about the sprinkler reads.
Okay, well, we're on that note, we're going to take our first time out of
That's
the
good
program.
stuff, QB.
Remember, we come back at 8:30. If you have any questions for Zach Alberverdi talking Gator recruiting, what might happen tomorrow, who we may sign, maybe flip some guys, who knows? Give us a text at 352-353-7465. You're watching Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Hey, time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer.
Bob in trouble, gets ready. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Weeby Realtor, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Adams Ribs, The Keys Restaurant, UF Mover Guys, Union Home Mortgages, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, and Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Weeby at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews. Remember, at 8:30 we'll have Zach Alberverdi talking recruiting. JC, let's talk briefly the Big Ten about the transfer portal.
Yeah.
The Big Ten has
Love
a
it.
proposal where they want guys to get one free transfer, which I kind of agree with. But here's some interesting numbers about the transfer portal. Power 5 players. the amount of players who entered the transfer portal, 408 players so far. Mm-hmm. What would you
right
guess?
Now there's 1,100 in the transfer portal.
Well, this was a couple of weeks ago, or maybe this was last year. I don't really know. I guess I should have looked
Well, that's
into
okay.
that.
There's 1,100 right now.
But only 60 landed Power 5 scholarships last year out of 408.
Well, the transfer, okay, so we saw the story. We talked about KJ Costello going to Mississippi State from Stanford and how that's going to help him perhaps in further his career. Another guy who's transferring is the Clemson backup to Trevor Lawrence, a guy named Chase Bryce. Now, he's got 2 years to go. So this is one of those things where the transfer portal really is intended to help both the team that's losing the player, the team that's getting the player, and, of course, obviously the player. Why? Because eligibility wraps up, and Chase Bryce is going to have 2 years to transfer and move now to Duke to play and get a graduate degree from that university. Tremendous opportunity there, and play under David Cutcliffe. But that's what the transfer portal's intention was. It's not for the kid who comes in out of high school and then in 4 games decides he's out of there, I'm going to the transfer portal. To me, it's more about Chase Bryce and KJ Costello.
Well, it's just like what Felipe happened.
And Felipe Franks, a perfect example. So Chase Bryce is getting to go, to Duke. This is a kid that came in the 2017 recruiting class at Clemson as a quarterback with Kelly Bryant, Deshaun Watson just leaving, Trevor Lawrence coming in. He's got a lot of guts to go in there and say, I'm going to compete and try to win that job. Kelly Bryant was
he was
starter.
there before Trevor Lawrence came.
But then Trevor Lawrence comes in, and they knew they were getting Trevor Lawrence, right? So he's there, he's competing, but he's not quite good enough to get there. So what does that do? That frees up another scholarship for Clemson. That gets Duke a quarterback coming in. That also allows the kid to have a couple of years of eligibility left to try to further his career, and it creates a little bit more stability. Lovie Smith at Illinois QB, and you brought up this a couple weeks ago or a week ago about how there are maybe 8 teams that are going to basically be the contenders in college football because of who they are, where they are, whatever the case may be. The fact that coming out of high school, it's Ohio State, it's Alabama, it's Clemson, it's Florida, it's Georgia, it's LSU, and that's pretty much it, and so forth. Well, the transfer portal gives some of these other schools a chance at least to get some of those players at Clemson, at Florida, at Georgia that don't make it to play. And Illinois is saving scholarships and may not even use any tomorrow on signing day because they're going to go and try to find transfers. Now, the problem for these transfers, obviously, is that sometimes these schools don't have scholarships that are available, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not as much space or much room to move to a place that you would want to go to. But look at what happened. Now, Fields is a different case with Georgia and Ohio State because he was much younger. But for these older guys like Chase Bryce and people like that who are going to graduate before their eligibility is up, Jalen Hurts, a great example. The transfer portal is a great thing, and I'm all for it.
Well, I am too. And I think now the transfer portal, I've said this many times, it's great for kids, but I think it's great for college coaches because it's a way now college coaches can kind of cut a kid. It's like the NFL. So, JC, let's say you're a backup defensive back, wide receiver. Every coach has an exit meeting at the end of the year with each player. You come into his office. Maybe I didn't recruit you either. You were already on the roster.
Yeah.
Hey, little Johnny, you're a good player. You're third on the depth chart. We got so-and-so coming in. We got these guys coming back. I'm not sure where it stands for you. Kind of putting the bug in your ear that, maybe I need to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
We will help you. We'll help you find a place to go.
Right.
Well, now, bam, you enter the transfer portal. Now I've just freed up a scholarship.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But I'm saying it's a way for coaches to because I can take your scholarship anytime I want.
That's right. It's
They're
a
year to year.
commitment. Yeah.
But if I take your scholarship, that's bad publicity, and I'll probably never be able to recruit in your high school ever again.
100%.
So with the transfer portal, that's a way that they can.
It just shocks me.
Be nice. Saying
move on.
Yeah,
it's just shocking to me that this wasn't thought of earlier or sooner. You wonder what they do in the NCAA.
I will say this, because the transfers have basically been building college basketball teams the last few years. You look at around the landscape of college basketball, it's transfers all over the place. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think you're going to see more of it in football now. People used to shy away from going the junior college route because you only had that kid for 2 years. Now, I don't think it really matters.
Right,
It's
no.
about winning right now.
Yeah.
Go get experienced players that can help your program. I don't care if they're there for 1 year, 2 years, or 3
Yeah.
years, or 5
Right.
years.
No.
Do what you got to do to win right now.
And I think that's what we're going to see in states like Mississippi, where there's a lot of junior college football. Illinois, I just mentioned Lovie Smith. He's building his team with transfers. I mean, he knows that he can't get these high school studs going to Ohio State. There's just they just can't compete in that arena. So what's he going to do? He's going to try to find transfers, and he's going to try to get Ohio State's second and third team guy maybe that could really play, who's a really solid player and could possibly start at a place like Illinois. And that just opens up opportunities for everybody. It gives Illinois another player. It gives the spot open for Ohio State to find another one, and it gives that kid a chance to
Well,
get on
Florida
the field.
just added 2 transfers that
Yeah.
are going to help their program. Wide receiver, 5-star wide receiver from Penn State, Justin
Yeah.
Shorter, and then Lingard, 5-star running back from Miami. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way teams are going to build their programs. I
It
think.
is, and I think it's also a safe thing. It's a good thing for the kids too, because let's remember when you were 18 years old. I mean, think about it. It's a weird time. You're not quite an adult, but you're not a child anymore, and you're kind of in the middle. And life is difficult, and changes happen, and decisions are difficult, and you don't know sometimes. Now, having said that, at times it dilutes the idea of commitment too, because you can't just get somewhere and say in 3 months, well, this place is not for me, I'm hauling ass, I'm leaving because this is just not good for me. No, you gotta commit to something. So when you put your name on that sheet on National Signing Day and you say, I'm going to play for the Florida Gators, this idea of diluting commitment is bad, and that's why I think it's
if
important
in
to
Mississippi
keep that in
State's
mind.
case, when you signed to play for the Mississippi State Bulldogs and then the coach is fired before,
Sure,
he should be able to go wherever
No,
he
there's
wants.
always 100%. There's always going to be those one-off ideas, one-off circumstances that happen that are out of your control completely, and maybe you should get a mulligan, right? But certainly, I think the idea of commitment is important for these kids at this age as they go into the next step of their life into college. I was the one who left home and went to school. I was the only friend I had that I knew in high school that was actually going that far away to go to college because I wanted to take that chance to see what it was like. And I also felt like that if I was there for that, in that place, 9 hours away by car, that if I was having a bad weekend or something wasn't going right with somebody, I couldn't just pack up and leave. And that's important for a kid to grow. And I think it's important for these kids to realize that the commitment is important. So we'll see. And I think tomorrow's a big day, but it's really not. I think the big day, National Signing Day, is now in December, QB. It's not in February anymore. It's December. This is the kind of the backup day.
Absolutely. Well, Celebration Point, folks, is where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the head ball coach's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. That is 353-7465. It comes from Jack up in Valdosta. Says, how will the Gators do against the Georgia Bulldogs in basketball tomorrow? Like I said, it's a huge
They'll
game.
win.
Florida needs to win it. They have the better roster. Georgia will have the best player on the court.
Yeah.
But we should win the game at home. We have to win the game at home. Let's put it that way.
100%. I mean, I said this at the beginning of the show. This is a game that if you're serious about making the tournament, you do not lose games like this. They have a win now to start the week. Well, I guess to end last week. But they need to win this game. And who's on Saturday? I should know this.
I haven't looked that far ahead.
Well, I mean, it's
Let's
in
worry
3
about
days.
one game at a time, Jason.
Okay,
one game at a time.
Well, you're right. I tend to look at the basketball schedule. Yeah, you're right. I tend to look at the basketball schedule in weeks. You know, this week we play this team and this team. Next week we play that team and that team. But Georgia's a game they have to win. We already know this. Clay says kids need to feel needs. In the portal, Bama getting a tight end is a great example. There are many great examples, and I agree. Rick says Illinois is looking for another Butkus. They're looking for a lot of help up at Illinois.
Hey, they went to a bowl game,
They
JC.
did, but they lost. But they did, and they beat Wisconsin. That was the signature win that I think that Lovie Smith has had at Illinois. I've never, for the life of me, understood why they can't commit to and win football games in Illinois when you have Chicago 60 minutes down the road. It makes no sense to me why the University of Illinois is not a better football program. And I think they've got a good man there. I don't know if he can win, but let's hope he does, because I like to see competitive teams in different conferences so that we don't have to keep talking about how up or down the SEC is every year. And I think the Big Ten needs, or the Big 14 needs, a team like Illinois to get more competitive. That Western Division, let's think about it, QB. Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota. Go Gophers, by the way. Smoked Auburn. But that division is nothing compared to what's going on in the eastern part of that division. It's almost a flip-flop of the SEC, frankly. So I think it's good that hopefully they'll get better and they'll get some transfers. We've got Zach Alberverdi coming on after this break. We're going to talk recruiting. We'll talk a lot of things with Zach as we get forward here on Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. I'm JC. Stay with us right here live on the podcast. Live.
Time out! Hey, time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer.
Bob in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Adams Ribs, The Keys Restaurant, UF Mover Guys, Union Home Mortgages, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School, and Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews. We're going to go straight to the Titan MRI hotline, and we're going to be joined by Zach Alberverdi from the Lake City Reporter. He also does a podcast called Locked on Gators, and you can find him on Twitter at Zach Alberverdi. Zach, welcome to the program. How are you, my man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good, Zach. Good to have you with us. Real quick, what do you think of that Super Bowl, my man?
Oh man, we got a good game. I always every time the Super Bowl comes around, I just hope for a good game. And man,
yeah,
we got one. And that was really cool to see Andy Reid win one. You know, he's been around the game so long. It's funny. I actually did an interview with Spurrier the other year, I think last year, and he told me that his favorite play caller in the game now is Andy Reid.
Oh,
he loved the way that he design stuff and puts in new packages, so I think he was probably happy to see him win one too.
No doubt. Well, Zach, tomorrow's a big day. Not as big as it used to be, obviously, with the early signing period now, but let the Gator Nation and people watching and listening to our podcast hear how many spots do the Gators have to fill and who those guys might be.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they could add. I mean, 29 is they really wanted to push it, is the most that they could sign. I don't think that they'll hit that number, but you know, I think size of the class is not an issue at this point. So they've put themselves in a good spot to really only need a few guys here on Wednesday, and honestly, that's how you want to be. You mentioned it, Shane. I mean, the early signing period is now with National Signing Day. And the first Wednesday in February is just leftovers.
Yep.
And so you're basically just trying to fill whatever remaining needs you have or land some of the targets that decided to wait until the end. So that's where the Gators are really at right now. Certainly they still want to get a running back recruit. They've gotten a transfer in Lorenzo Lingard, but they would like to get a high school recruit. They're looking to add, Cedric Van Pran, who just visited this past weekend. He's the nation's #1 center. He's committed to Georgia. Really the only offensive lineman that they're looking to add. I mean, their class, John Hevesey's done a great job, but if you could add the nation's #1 center and you can take him from Georgia and you can fill a position of need like that, I think the Gators would love to add him tomorrow. And then you go over to the defensive side. Safety and defensive back was a big position of need this class. They addressed it during the early signing period, but still needed to get a safety. And Avante Williams, top 100 guy right out of the land, Florida. It's been a Florida-Miami battle. Georgia kind of got into the mix there late, but he's the guy to watch out for tomorrow as well. I don't see them landing any defensive linemen. They brought in Princely, kid out of Texas, but Florida was never really seriously in the mix. So that's kind of where they're at, guys. I mean, they want to get a running back. There are a couple guys that are deciding tomorrow. They want to get Cedric Van Pran, and then certainly Avante Williams, the 4-star safety, is a guy that they're hoping for too.
The transfers that we got, I know we got Justin Shorter from Penn State, as you mentioned, Lingard from Miami. Are those two guys eligible to play this year?
Well, Shorter, I'm not as familiar with his situation as far as what he's hoping to get a waiver for, but I know that, when he left and kind of got that process going, it seems like he had already made the decision to leave and already maybe had his reason for leaving. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that recent report that came out from Penn State about this possible Sandusky situation might be something that he might try to use and bring up. I don't know if it's too late for that, if he's already submitted his reason to the NCAA as to why he left Penn State. So that's something to watch for. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I think the guy that's much more likely to get the waiver is Lingard, because he's got a family issue involving one of his family members and their health. He's from, obviously, the Sunshine State, so that 100-mile radius thing that I think heard about last year with Luke Ford, who was like 5 miles outside of the radius. That's going to fall under Lorenzo Lingard's case. So I think they're hopeful that he's going to be able to get a waiver, and if he does, that'd be huge for them.
We're speaking with Zach Abolverdi, talking Gator recruiting. We got a text here on the Titan MRI text line from Fred. He says, Zach, what do you think the final recruiting rankings will be for the Gators?
I think they'll probably finish number 6 or 7, depending on the site. If they were somehow able to get like everybody, if they got Van Pran, if they got the running back, one of their running backs that they're after, if they got Avante Williams, and if they even got DeMarcus Beckwith, who I hadn't mentioned yet, but I don't think that's going to happen. He's a 4-star athlete out of Alabama, plays quarterback in high school, but is projected to play tight end at the next level. And he had been calling Florida his leader for at least about a month, and he visited 2 weekends ago. Still said Florida was his leader. But with Larry Scott reportedly heading to Howard, it looks like Beckwith might now be going to Tennessee, because he just visited there on Sunday after that news of Larry Scott hit. So, but again, if they could add all those guys, Shane, maybe they would get into the top 5, but I think they're probably going to finish 6 or 7, which is still really good.
JC and I were talking earlier about all the new transfers. KJ Costello is going to Mississippi State. Felipe is going to Arkansas. Chase Bryce from Clemson is now going to Duke. Do you see this? I mean, it's already becoming a trend, but you follow recruiting a lot. Is it going to just becoming more and more where kids, are going to be going elsewhere so they can get on the field and play?
Yeah, not only that, but I tell you what, Shane, I mean, if you guys think about how this is affecting the way that they build rosters and the way that they recruit. Every time that they're going into a cycle and every time they're wrapping one up, they have to be aware and cognizant of where their roster is at and who is coming and leaving. what potential transfers are out there, who's in the portal that they might feel like is worth trying to bring in and pursue, because that all relates to what they can do from a recruiting standpoint and who they can bring in from the high school level. That balancing act and trying to figure out your roster with high school recruits and with transfers is not easy to do. And I think that Dan Mullen and his staff, they've probably navigated through the transfer portal better than any other staff in the country the last 2 years. When you consider how they've upgraded their roster with the guys that they added and the amount of 5-star talent that they've brought in. And as you guys know, I mean, Florida recruiting fans, they want to see you sign 5-star recruits and they want to see you sign a top 5 class. Well, Florida might only get one 5-star recruit this year. They might finish outside of the top 5, and like I said, they might finish 6 or 7. But what's not being calculated into their class are the transfers.
Mm-hmm.
If they created a system where the transfers that you got in were part of your recruiting ranking, well, guess what? Florida's got 2 5-star transfers in Lorenzo Lingard and Justin Shorter. If those got counted to Florida's class, Florida would have technically a top 5 class. So I think that's important to keep in mind now when you look at the big picture of who's getting brought in.
Do you think schools, Zach, will be more accustomed to maybe saving scholarships here and there to use?
Yeah.
I mean, because I think this is what Illinois. I just read where Illinois is basically trying to build their rosters. You've mentioned building rosters with transfers because they know they're not going to get these high school studs that Ohio State and Penn State are going to get. So maybe save some scholarships, get some players, and certainly Florida can do that, and other schools who are getting the high school players, but save some now. I mean, that's a trend, right?
Now, yeah, I think you have to do that, Johnny, just because you never know who is going to come out there in the transfer portal that you might find as a desirable target, and maybe somebody that you would even want more than some of the guys at the high school level that you're targeting. Mm-hmm. And then so that's one, and then the other side of that coin is the players on your current roster. Now they have the freedom and the power that if they don't like how things are going, and they can just up and leave. So I think that you always have to make sure that you probably, like you said, have 3 to 4, maybe even 5 spots that you can kind of play with every year around this time. And in schools, I definitely think are not going to be filling their maximum 85 scholarship limit on National Signing Day. They're going to always keep that extra room there to kind of maneuver it in the offseason if they need to.
We're speaking with,
go ahead, JC.
Well, we're speaking with, of course, the great Zach Abolverdi. You can catch him on Twitter at Zach Abolverdi, ZACHABOLVERDI, Lake City reporter. Zach, let me switch to basketball.
Well, I have one more question.
Oh, you have another football? Okay.
Yeah, we have a text. We have a text on the Titan MRI text line from Robert. He wants to know, Zach, who are you hearing that might replace tight end coach Larry Scott?
Okay.
To be honest, I haven't heard any names yet. I haven't even looked into it just because I've been so just busy trying to keep up with all these recruits. It's going to be an important hire, though. I do think that Mullen, he could go with somebody that he knows, but the tight end position and tight end coaches out there, I won't say they're a dime a dozen, but it's one of those positions where sometimes you really get good recruiters who are also tight end coaches. I don't know why that is, but that just seems to always be the case. And I think that, or more times than not at least, and I think that they're going to look for that in Larry Scott's replacement because not only did he do a great job developing tight ends, hello, Kyle Pitts, the way that he did recruiting, not just the tight end position, but also his recruiting responsibilities. He was in charge of the Lakeland area. So in the last class, not only did he get Keon Zipper, who was one of the nation's best tight ends, he got the Lakeland suite. He got all 3 of his teammates from that area. And then this past year, he was the primary for Gervon Dexter, who's the one consensus 5-star that Florida signed. Now, David Turner, the defensive line coach, had a big role in that recruitment, but Larry Scott was the one going to see him and keep in contact with him every week. So I think that this is maybe wouldn't have got the same type of a reaction if Todd Grantham had left or one of the offensive assistants that have history with Mullen. But Larry Scott is definitely a big loss that they're going to have to replace.
I was going to switch to basketball now as we get ready for the Florida-Georgia game tomorrow. I think there's 4 SEC games tonight. Mississippi State at Kentucky. You've got Arkansas playing Auburn. What is your feeling right now of where Florida is, Zach? Certainly needed that win against Vanderbilt, coming off a bad week prior to it. So, do you think Florida right now can realistically look at getting to 20 wins if you've had a chance to look at the schedule? If not, that's fine. But they do have Kentucky twice and LSU one more time.
Yeah, I think that they can get to 20 wins. It might take the SEC tournament to get to 20 wins. But I have a wild theory, 2 wild theories actually. I think that this team should make it a point to get behind in every game and play from behind. Because they don't play well with the lead.
The lead, yeah, right.
And I also think that when they get down on offense and they dribble the ball down, they should do their best to just kind of get the ball out on the other team along the baseline and then inbound it every possession. And they would score every possession.
They would, wouldn't they?
I mean, Mike White is if you can criticize him for anything, you cannot criticize him for his inbound plays because he draws them up.
He really does.
For whatever reason, when this team is behind, i.e., Alabama and LSU, sometimes they shoot like they lost their mind.
It is kind of a schizophrenic team sometimes when you think about their shooting.
They're up by 16. They're up by 18 the other night against Vanderbilt. It's a 6-point game,
and they were up 16 on Mississippi State. I mean,
So it's so tough to figure this team out. I don't know what I was doing. Subjecting my Saturday night, subjecting myself to that on Saturday night.
The Vanderbilt game? You didn't get it? What's the matter with you? I mean,
I should have been doing something else for my Saturday night. But you know what, though? Everybody was down on this team and felt like they were out of it last year, and then they went on a run.
Yeah, they did.
They turned it around, and they didn't have the talent that this team does, even though this talent is probably overrated. I still think that they could put it together. I mean, all it takes is them to have a really hot shooting night and have guys play with confidence. And they can, as we saw against Auburn, they can really put it together. But it's just there's too much inconsistency with this team. Like you said, I think the hope is just that they're going to be able to make the tournament and then get some good matchups and just try to put it together at the right time.
That's it.
All right, Zach. Well, we appreciate you joining the program, talking Gator
Zach.
recruiting. Try to get some rest tonight. I know you'll be excited when tomorrow's over.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, that's Zach Alberverdi from the Lake City Reporter. Later. You can also check out his podcast called Locked on Gators and check him out at Twitter at Zach Alberverdi.
I like Zach. He really gives you a very thorough explanation and answers the questions. And I think I really liked him when he was at the Gainesville Sun. I'm glad he's having a prolonged career up there at the Lake City Reporter. So that's nice to have, and we'll have Zach consistently as we go through the basketball season. Of course, maybe a review of as we recap the recruiting and finish that off tomorrow, which is, I guess, the secondary signing day, if you would call it that, for college football. Now, QB, we had the Super Bowl. Football's over now. NFL's done.
We got the XFL.
We got the XFL. I couldn't tell you one team in there other than maybe I think the Dallas somebody, and I think.
I don't know their teams.
Who the hell
either.
are they? The Bandits.
I know there's a team in New York. There's a team in Tampa. Tampa's like the Vipers.
Yeah, you're going to tell me I don't know. The Vipers, is that what they are?
I think they are.
How come Coach didn't look at
they had already hired their coaches.
Oh, here we go.
I am pretty sure
Renegades.
that if they had not hired Mark Trestman, when they
would have hired
Coach
Coach.
Spurrier.
I mean, think about it. Mark Trestman, Steve Spurrier.
Yeah.
That's like sprinkler reeds and traps. Okay, let's go. How many teams are we talking about here? This is okay. I mean,
there's only like 8
Can
teams.
I just
click on that home? Go to the home of the XFL.
Maybe put it up on the screen for our millions of viewers here. 4 days to kickoff. Tickets available now. The Dallas team, by the way, are the Renegades. Okay, they're the Renegades.
Bob Stoops, head coach.
Oh, he is. That's right. Okay,
Scotty Spurrier coaches for them.
They're playing in Arlington. That is tremendous. You have the St. Louis Battlehawks. I like that. The New York Guardians. The
G.A.
Renegades.
G.A. Mangus.
G.A.?
He's the offense coordinator for the Guardians.
For the Guardians?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my team then. I'm the New York Guardians. I'm going to get GA to send me a visor. Or, of course, we could root for the Dallas
You
Renegades.
could buy one.
The Tampa Bay Vipers, thank you. The Los Angeles Wildcats. That's
the
not very.
dumbest
That's not
nickname
very creative. I love the Seattle Dragons.
It's like UAB.
Okay, Houston and Oil. It's always the same thing. The Roughnecks. The DC Defenders out of Washington. Is that it? Are there more? No, those,
I think that's it.
Yeah, those aren't teams there because Orlando doesn't have a team. So those are your teams. We just went through them. I am a New York Renegade, a New York
Guardian.
a Guardians fan, and a Dallas Renegades fan. I'll pull for them. I do kind of think it's cool. The St. Louis Battlehawks. That's kind of a cool name. So, QB, as we're on Pro Sports, as we wrap up and go toward the home stretch here on a Tuesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning, I'm John Cornell here on the Titan MRI text line and phone line 352-353-7465. My question to you would be, with Andy Reid finally getting that Super Bowl, that elusive Super Bowl as head coach. Of course, he won a Super Bowl as an assistant coach with Mike Holmgren in 1996 with the Green Bay Packers, as you know. But this is his first Super Bowl as head coach, having lost his prior game with the Eagles. Now, who would you say is your favorite coach or best coach to be coaching in the league right now without a Super Bowl championship?
Oh, goodness. I'd have to have a list of the coaches.
Well,
in
you
front
know
of me.
one that you've been talking about for a week and a half.
Kyle Shanahan's my guy.
So you love him. I'm going to go with, and this guy doesn't necessarily have a winning record, but he's had some bad luck with some rough organizations. But Bruce Arians is a two-time Coach of the Year in the National Football League. Did you know he was a two-time Coach of the Year? And he is certainly a coach who's brought Tampa Bay kind of back into some sort of relevancy. They did win 5 of their last 8 games. They likely could have won 9 games, 10 games this year had they not had Jabu throwing the ball all over the field and creating all these turnovers, even though he did throw for 30 touchdowns. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. I think he's going to go to another team. But I do think that Tampa Bay is better with Bruce Arians, and I'm certainly thinking that he might be one of the few. Bill O'Brien has 4 division titles in Houston.
Yeah, but the AFC South is not real good.
Well, okay, so you had Tennessee in the AFC Championship
this year,
game.
yes. But
Right, and Houston won their division, but Jacksonville and Indianapolis did not make the playoffs, and of course not really been a factor at all. Frank Reich at Indianapolis, he's only been there a few years. Sean McVay in Los Angeles, he did get to a Super Bowl in a very short tenure at Los Angeles. His career is very safe. So I think it's safe to say that I guess you could say Kyle Shanahan, maybe Bruce Arians. Lamar is loving this show this morning. He comes back with Andy Reid won the Super Bowl only because he installed sprinkler reads in the offensive philosophy. Lamar, this is what Mike Leach does, okay? This is his offense on that 3x5
This is what Kyler Murray does for the Cardinals.
Sprinkler reads.
Because that's Mike Leach's system.
There you have it.
Kingsbury.
Sprinkler reads.
Sprinkler
Reads
we'll find
work.
out. We'll have to have them on the show and talk about sprinkler reads.
You laugh, but I'll bet you somebody else has said has come up with that term somewhere. I'll bet you somebody else has.
Well, tomorrow on the show,
then I'm the creative genius.
Tomorrow on the show, we're going to have Brent Beard from College Sports Today over in
Beard.
Jacksonville talking college football.
Nice.
And then Friday,
Yes.
Tim Walton, head softball coach at the University of Florida. It's opening day Friday for the Gator softball team. He will join us probably around 8:30, 8:45.
That's all we get him for? Is 8:45? So
Well,
8:55?
somewhere
you
around
gotta
there.
you gotta work that.
He's a
better.
busy man, JC.
So we're busy too, QB.
Yeah.
I mean, 8:30. Get him on at 8:30, QB, because 10 minutes is not enough. Unless that's all you want is 10 minutes.
No, I'd love to have him for an hour.
We're going to turn this into the Gator softball hour with
Yes.
Shane.
Yes,
Is that what
indeed.
you want to do?
We can do that.
Well, we are going to talk about softball, QB. Don't be embarrassed. It's okay. We will talk about softball and baseball. I know that is not a national story, although we are national. We had a viewer yesterday while you were driving around Florida on assignment. We had a viewer and listener from Ramsey, New Jersey chime in.
Where is that located?
Well, Ramsey, New Jersey is in northern New Jersey somewhere, and so we have a little bit of reach.
I
And
wonder
once
if
we
they're
get out there,
a New York Guardian fan.
UF Mover guys, love those guys. That's my man Jordan. We played craps at the Atlantis My man Jordan is a golfer, too. He's a golfer. Jordan, running that UF Mover, guys. They moved me, QB. And you know what else they did for me at UF Mover, guys? They gave me a referral to probably the best landscaper who I will get to sponsor this show, the best landscaper in Gainesville.
And you
I
can
can't say his name
you
yet
can
because
put
he's
on-
not paying for it, but
You can
I'll
put
get him on there.
You can put on the side of his truck. We install and we take care of your lawn, but we also know about sprinkler reeds.
Oh, I think I've started something here. This is tremendous. Rick wants to know if I'm going into the portal. You're gonna transfer me to another podcast,
yes,
QB?
we may have to do that.
It's a good show.
Well, that's a wrap. Today's show is a wrap brought to you by WrapSpot. A vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. We'll see you tomorrow on Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.